With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Getting engaged is a moment worth cherishing. A one-of-a-kind ring that you design at Blue Nile can help your love sparkle. Just choose your diamond and setting. When you've found the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Finding the right engagement ring can be nerve-wracking. At Blue Nile, you'll have the expert guidance needed and a diamond guarantee that ensures you're getting the highest quality at the best price. Cherish all of life's moments and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
26.2 miles in less than 2 hours, and all things Olympic and Paralympic sport in less than 40 minutes, there or thereabouts. That's our promise on Anything But Footy. Eliud Kipchoge's history-making run in Vienna is being applauded, but in Oregon the signs are being taken down and the paperclips put away as the Nike project is closed, with pretty immediate effect. The website's gone, the social media accounts have been shut down. Elsewhere, Team GB have named more athletes for the next Olympics, and there's been British medals in Russia and in Germany at the Boxing and Gymnastics World Championships, respectively. It's Anything But Footy, and I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and in the next half an hour or so, with Eliud Kipchoge saying he wanted to inspire after his 1:59 challenge success, he did, and fellow Kenyan Brigid Kosgei smashed Paula Radcliffe's 16-year-old marathon world record in Chicago by a huge 1 minute and 21 seconds. Incredible stuff, or was it?
Well, we'll come to everything distance running very shortly. We will be discussing at length the Nike Oregon project. We will be discussing at length Mo Farah, Alberto Salazar, plus the impact for British athletics, and Neil Black, the performance director, who's announced he's stepping down this week as well. But let's start, if you like, with the good news. 4:35 miles. 4 minutes 35 for a mile. That's not a bad 4:35 mile. Try doing it 26 times back to back. Or to put it another way, do 100 metres in 17 seconds and then do that 422 times back to back. That's essentially, that's exactly what Eliud Kipchoge did in Vienna. The 34-year-old has beaten that 2-hour marathon pace, 26.2 miles in less than 2 hours. Remember, he had to go in 2017 in Monza. He was 26 seconds over. But this time around, of course, he managed to do it. Fantastic. So we've talked about the sub-10 second 100 metres. We've talked about the 4-minute mile 65 years ago. But 26.2 miles, John, in 1 hour, 59 minutes and 40 seconds. Quite an achievement.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous, to be brutally honest. As you say, the first in history to run under 2 hours, less than 5 minute a mile pace, as you've so expertly put. But don't forget, this guy, 34-year-old Kenyan, he's the Olympic champion and he's the world record holder as well. And he ran it in race conditions as well, 2 hours 01 for the world record. Now, this one won't be ratified, so the race that took place in Vienna wasn't really a race because it was him against the clock, and he had a special course, he had very special Nike shoes, he had pacemakers who were one of the world's best, kind of protecting him and leading him. He had this green pace line where there was a car in front of him with a light being beamed back in front of him, and he had to keep up with that light to make sure he hit that record, which was incredible. However, for anyone to say that this is not an achievement, I really am really staggered that they are clearly just deluded, because they probably don't believe that man walked on the moon, these people. Because, I'm sorry, but he has done something that we never thought would probably happen. And I think you can say, well, okay, it wasn't in a race. It wasn't, say, in the London Marathon. It wasn't even in the Vienna Marathon. It was, his own conditions or lack of conditions, because they were the perfect ones. But boy, is it inspirational. I mean, don't forget, Sir Roger Bannister, you mentioned 65 years ago, 1954, he had 2 pacemakers. And, and he did the 4-minute mile. But what I think, and I think we'll hear from Eliud Kipchoge in a moment, but what he sort of said, Michael, is, look, I want to open up the record and show people that anything is possible. I think the hashtag is no human is limited. Now, when Sir Roger Bannister broke that record, just 46 days later, somebody else did it. And it opened up the floodgates. And now, the world record's 3:43 or something for the 1,500 metres and the mile. So let's hear from Kipchoge first. He says he's so proud to create history, but what he really wants to do is be an inspiration for people in and out of sport.
I was really patient all the way down. 500 so I tried to push a little bit and I got it. I was really 500 meters towards the finishing line. I was really happy. I'm really feeling good to have done this. I'm a happy man to leave history, and I'm a man to leave a good legacy that which can show the whole world that everything is possible. The moment they are going out of their doors, that they think they should think positive. They should not have any limitation at all, not only in sport, but beyond the sport. And now, actually, I urge everybody to just love the sport. Sport is helping those who don't help themselves. If you don't feel that you need help, it's only sport. Get out of your door and run.
OK then, John. So we've heard from Eliud Kipchoge there. Is it inspirational, or is the man, the woman in the pub tonight going to sit there and go, yeah, but do I really trust what I'm seeing with anything to do with the sport of athletics at the minute?
Okay, well, the first thing, did he inspire? Well, yes, he did, because today we have another world record. Brigid Kosgei from Kenya, who, in your neck of the woods earlier this year, broke the half-marathon record at the Great North Run. She has now broken Paula Radcliffe's world record in the marathon by 1 minute and 21 seconds. That is not just a shaving off. That is a smashing of the London 2003 record that Paula Radcliffe ran 2 hours 15 and 25. Not when she did the toilet break that everyone remembers for. So it was been quite a weekend for Kenya. Lawrence Chireno won the men's race as well as the Chicago Marathon, where Kosgei did it such brilliantly over the weekend. So has Kipchoge inspired? Well, yes, it obviously has happened, because you've then seen someone else go and produce another brilliant performance. And I think it's too easy to say, well, the conditions were too easy for Kipchoge. Mark Cavendish, who I think is one of our leading sportsmen, has had 30 individual Tour de France wins, for example. He tweeted over the weekend saying science and technological advancements are part of pushing the new. And my issue with this, Michael, is that should Formula One go back to 50s type cars? Should tennis players go back to wooden rackets? Should cinder tracks be back for athletics? Because it's just progress, and everything that they've done shows that you can do something if you want to do it. Anything is possible, is what Kipchoge wanted to show, and I really think he has gone and done that.
And I think one of the other things that it's probably worth mentioning is that Eliud Kipchoge as well, his physicality has been a key component of this. Yes, he can wear those Nike Vaporfly trainers where they have a carbon fibre plate and you get 15% more foam in them, and they have been specially designed to enhance energy by bouncing it back up into the air, which apparently other trainers don't do. But Kipchoge's physicality, I think, is the key component. I was reading that he has a very high lactate threshold, which means that the lactic acid that you hear so much about in the sport of track and field doesn't affect him so much. So it's his makeup, I think, which has put him in a position to do this. I do think in terms of the general public, the wider sport watching public, It's something that has captured the imagination. To get up early on a Saturday morning, it's something different. We've spoken many, many times, haven't we, about athletics need to innovate, come up with some of these events which people, maybe the casual observers who probably didn't watch much of the World Athletics Championships in Doha because they're not that interested in it. They don't really trust what they're watching because doping has been such a huge issue, and that's something that we're going to be coming on to shortly. But I do think a lot of people got up and watched it just as an event and thought, well, actually, yes, what I've seen this morning is a little bit different to what I would normally have been watching on a Saturday morning with one of those chefs off the telly.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think, what we've also got to remember is there are a lot of people out there who are sceptical about everything. So, they don't believe Usain Bolt ran 9.58 and 100 metres. They don't believe, as I said earlier, the man walked on the moon. Don't forget as well, Sir Roger Bannister, and I'll say credit to John Goodbody in the Sunday Times for this amazing stat that I think is worth pointing out to everybody, that, Sir Roger Bannister didn't even win Sports Personality of the Year when he broke the 4-minute mile. It was run by his friend Chris Chatway, who'd beaten another race just a few weeks earlier. So, we were sceptical in the 50s. We're probably still sceptical now. But I think we should say, well done to Kipchoge, well done to Kosgei for that Chicago Marathon victory and that new women's world record. Well done to Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe for sponsoring the whole event for the race in Vienna. And look, I think that records are there to be broken. You don't want to see records like we see in many athletics events still there from the 1980s, and we all know why they're from there, particularly in the women's events from the 1980s. We don't want to see them. We want to see them broken. No one thought that Paula Radcliffe record would go. It has. And as Roy Castle and Norris McWhirter would say, dedication is all you need, Michael.
You're listening to Anything But Footy. We'll have more about long-distance running. And, whilst the Eliud Kipchoge and the Chicago Marathon news has been a bright spot this weekend, there has, of course, been some dark clouds over the sport with the closure of the Nike Oregon project this week. We'll discuss that in depth very shortly. Don't forget as well, we'd love to discuss something that you've got on your mind in the world of Olympic and Paralympic sport. You can tweet us at Anything But F. You can find us on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube as well, on Apple and Google Podcasts if you'd like to subscribe to us there and you'd like to rate us and maybe send your question via the chat rooms as far as Apple and Google Podcasts are concerned. We'd love to hear from you. Plus, of course, we now have a new website, anythingbutfooty.com. So if you're surfing, if you're skiving at work this week, well, maybe just skive onto our website, anythingbutfooty.com, and you can send us a message there. This is Anything But Footy, your Olympic and Paralympic sport podcast.
And quite an achievement for British gymnastics as Max Whitlock and Joe Fraser were crowned world champions in Stuttgart this week, and the Downey sisters bagged a silver and a bronze. All this as the women and men's team both confirmed their spot at the Tokyo Olympics next summer after qualifying for their respective finals of the team event. Now, Max Whitlock, the 26-year-old double champion in Rio and overall 5-time Olympic medalist, of course, he won 3 in London in 2012, added a third pommel horse world title to his collection after a brilliant display in Germany, and all that after he bounced back from a fall during the routine in the team final, and he scored a massive 15.500. That is an incredible score. Afterwards, Max said, "It's been a team journey with my coach Scott Hann and my family, and our preparation has been incredible." Of course, he's become a dad in the last year or so, and apparently his wife's been on Twitter as well saying, "Come back, I need some sleep." Now, on a super Saturday for Great Britain, 27-year-old Becky Downey claimed her first world medal with a stunning silver on the uneven bars as well, and her sister Ellie, the European all-round gold medalist from 2 years ago, produced some brilliant vaults to win bronze as well. And then Joe Fraser made history, winning Britain's first ever gold in the parallel bars final. He scored a straight 15.000 and admitted afterwards that it was a huge shock. Here's his quote: "Just wow, world champion, unreal." And that pretty much sums it up, I think. British gymnastics made it through to 9 individual finals, including 2 all-round and 7 apparatus finals, and the near-perfect 10 days in competition. So well done to all. We talked about them on our preview for Tokyo 2020 and whether British gymnastics could match 7 medals from Rio. We talked about the team coming good and returning from injury. It seems like they're right on track for Tokyo.
You're listening to Anything But Footy. Just want to mention a couple of other things about gymnastics. Rhys McClenaghan won a bronze medal, the first Irish gymnast to win a medal there behind Max Whitlock. So history-making for Irish gymnastics there. And you mentioned Sports Personality of the Year. They always give an award, as we know, for an overseas Sports Personality of the Year. Eliud Kipchoge could be one. Brigid Kosgei could be another nominee. Yeah. I would like to put forward Simone Biles in Stuttgart at the World Gymnastics Championship. Just listen to this. 24 World Championship medals now, with a gold medal in the balance beam. That was her 24th. She's won 18 golds, including 4 in Stuttgart. She won 4 golds and a bronze medal in Rio. So she has a combined world and Olympic medal tally of 29, and she's just 22 years of age. And my daughter, my eldest daughter, is a member of British Gymnastics, goes to Darlington Gymnastics Club every Friday, and she watches Simone Biles absolutely spellbound. And, you know, when we are watching gymnastics on the phone, for example, on YouTube, for example, when it's not on the television at a World or European Championships or Olympics or Commonwealth Games, when we're just watching it on the phone, she constantly searches for Simone Biles. And what an achievement. 24 World Championship medals, 29 combined medals at World and Olympic level. That is some going by Simone Biles, you have to say. Another World Championships, of course, has been taking place in Russia. We spoke to Lauren Price, one of the GB boxers, on episode 27 of Anything But Footy, and she was taking part in the Women's World Championship boxing. Now, she was beaten by Dutch fighter. Stay with me on this, by the way. Don't switch off yet. Don't shout at your podcast provider just now. She was beaten by Dutch fighter Nushka Fontin in the middleweight final. It was a split decision. 3 judges gave the fight to the Dutch woman. 2 gave it to the Welsh woman. That represented an upgrade on her bronze last year. But then the twist. GB Boxing appealed the result and Lauren Price was upgraded to gold. Lauren Price, who we spoke to on episode 27 of Anything But Footy, the former Welsh international footballer, is now a world champion boxer as well. Elsewhere for Great Britain, Demi J. Resden won bronze on her World Championships debut. She is definitely, I would say, one to watch, and we spoke about this in our preview. She actually does need to step up a weight if she's to be able to fight or be eligible for the Olympics, because at the moment the weight category she's in is not an Olympic weight category. The feeling, though, at GB Boxing is that she can do it, she can make that step up, and she's won a bronze on her debut at the World Championships. And Karis Artingstall also won a bronze medal. Again, there was an appeal here after her semi-final. Great Britain weren't successful. Many people who know more about boxing than I do believe that Great Britain and Karis Artingstall were very unlucky in not having that result overturned, but she had to settle for the bronze medal. All in all, it's Great Britain's best medal haul since 2012, when the medalists were Tasha Jones, Savannah Marshall, and someone called Nicola Adams.
And can I just say as well, Rosie Clark, who missed out in the quarterfinals, she couldn't say it afterwards, but we could say it. She was absolutely robbed in that one as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's Anything But Footy. This is your unashamed Olympic and Paralympic sport podcast. So we've had some good news, certainly as far as British athletes are concerned at those World Championships in Stuttgart at the gymnastics, and of course in Russia at the World Boxing Championships as well. But, well, it's no secret that the biggest sports story on most people's lips this week has been the closure of the Nike Oregon project. It's been closed down. The website's offline. The social media accounts have gone. And basically, I think following the conclusion of the case, if you like, against Alberto Salazar, a 4-year investigation by the US anti-doping authorities and a 2-year court battle which ended with him being banned for 4 years, guilty of doping violations, and there were 3 in particular. I will read that the panel found him and the Dr. Jeffrey Brown guilty of. They found that they possessed and trafficked a banned performance-enhancing substance. They found they administered or attempted to administer a prohibited method, and they tampered or attempted to tamper with the doping control process. And I think Nike has just felt, well, we need to do something here. We need to do a PR offensive, and they've shut the program down with immediate effect.
They've shut it down, but their statement was not exactly damning, was it? They described it as a distraction, the Nike Oregon project, and described those allegations, which you've so eloquently read out, Michael, as unsubstantiated assertions. So it seems. I mean, and we know that Salazar and Nike are appealing his 4-year ban by anti-doping officials, and this was the man who led and helped and coached Mo Farah to 6 world titles and 4 Olympic golds during the 6 years that he was in charge. And we're talking about him because he used to coach Mo Farah, and he has coached so many of the great long and middle distance runners that we've known over the last years and years and years. And I'm staggered that Nike haven't come out and been more kind of critical of that, but they're obviously backing their man.
Yeah, well, I would say just on the Nike point, they are backing their man. They stood by Lance Armstrong for a lot longer than they potentially should have. Nike athlete Justin Gatlin, twice been banned for doping offences, of course. Tiger Woods, another athlete, a golfer, as we know, that went through not doping problems, but went through a myriad of issues in his personal and his private life. Nike stood by him as well. So, Nike have history of sticking by their men and their women, and they, as you say, continue to stand by Salazar. They insist and stress that these findings do not involve the athletes on the programme. So who do they involve, and why was the coach up to these things if indeed he wasn't then using the small gains or whatever, the doping things that have been talked about here? Who was he using that on if it wasn't involving the athletes on the programme? And, the other thing that Nike have said is that the 3 charges that Salazar's been committed were without an intent or effect to dope or cheat. And the panel have actually stood by and agreed this. Couple of things to mention. And one, we'll move on to the effect that this has had on British athletics this week. I'll get your views on that. But does Nike have too big a grip on athletics? You look at that deal with British athletics, I think it's to 2030. You've got Seb Coe, who leads the sport, who was an ambassador for a long time and has openly admitted he should have stepped down beforehand. 2 of the most mainstream broadcasters in Great Britain, certainly, Steve Cram and Paula Radcliffe, both former athletes, of course, now making their living, or part of their living, in television, are both paid Nike ambassadors. So how can they, be robust when surely they're compromised in their journalistic opinions? And then you've got the next World Championships, which is going to Niketown, Oregon. So that's my first question. Does Nike have too big a grip on athletics? And what potentially could be the impact with British athletics here?
Well, I think the interesting thing with British athletics is that Neil Black, of course, who was the performance director, has left or will be leaving. We understand he hasn't been sacked, but his time is up after 7 years, and he obviously did support Salazar, but he also was in charge of Doha 2019, and we talked about it in our episode last week of Anything But Footy, about not hitting the medal target that he set. And it was a pretty terse statement, wasn't it? Very brief from British Athletics.
Very brief.
Here it is. UK Athletics have announced Neil Black will leave his role as performance director at the end of October. Neil will commence a detailed handover with performance staff until his departure and will fulfil his role supporting Mo Farah at this weekend's Chicago Marathon. And that is it. And this is someone who's been in charge for 7 years, not even a thank you, and we wish him well. And we discussed the potential fallout last week in our pod Doha Dissected, but he described Salazar as a genius and said he had total trust and belief in him. Now you can hear the evidence that we've already talked about that USADA has said in their investigation. I suppose the biggest question for me is it goes back to performance, Michael, and we're 9 months before the Tokyo Olympics, less than 300 days before the Tokyo Olympics. They've got a new CEO at British Athletics, Zara Hyde-Peters, new chairman, Chris Clark. Now they need a new performance director for British Athletics. So this ramifications are kind of week in, week out, are having more and more of an impact on it. And I think there's a huge impact on Mo Farah as well, because he didn't perform very well at the Chicago Marathon. In fact, his time of 2 hours, 9 minutes and 58 seconds was his worst marathon ever. He finished 8th. He was the defending champion, having won his first marathon in Chicago a year ago. And he's been doing these for 5 or 6 years. Did them after 2012. So it seems like he's been overshadowed by the Salazar affair. And again, I'm not sure he came out great when he met the media on Friday before the Chicago Marathon.
I was going to say his worst performance as marathon running, and probably his worst performance in a press conference as well, from Mo Farah ahead of the Chicago Marathon.
He did front up. He did front up, though, to be fair.
He
to
always
him.
does, usually, doesn't he? It just doesn't seem to me to be fantastically well advised often with what he comes out and says. He always comes and sits and faces the questions, but I'm not sure this time turning the attack onto the media was the best thing to do. And I speak obviously as a member of the media, so maybe long distance runners out there might disagree with me. Mo Farah wanted to talk about the race, wanted to talk about split times, wanted to talk about marathon running. The media wanted to talk about Alberto Salazar, of course. So I don't think Mo Farah had ideal preparation going into this marathon. I think his headspace was probably somewhere else over the last couple of weeks. So, there is, I think, going to be decisions for Mo Farah over the next 9 months, whether, he continues with the marathon, the opportunity perhaps to come back to the track and, have another little pop at another Olympic medal in Tokyo. As you say, British athletics at the moment, this week, certainly there's been massive change right at the top. And at the moment, having come back from Doha with big success stories of Katarina Johnson-Thompson and Dina Asher-Smith, of course, must be looking and wondering where those 7 to 9 medals might come. As we said in our Doha Dissected podcast, there were some near misses. Nick Miller in the hammer, Holly Bradshaw in the pole vault, near misses in the relays. They might come good, but it's a very big 9 months for British athletics. Just on that second point then, does Nike have too big a grip on athletics? Does Nike need athletics, or does athletics need Nike more?
Well, I think even Mo said, well, they pay me. So, I mean, and that as part of his talking to the media, and that is an issue. Of course, it's an issue. If you want to be journalistic, then you should be independent, and you should have independent thought. You shouldn't be thinking about, well, who's my paymaster, and that is an issue. Now, I don't have an issue with Mo Farah being paid by Nike. He's an athlete, and that's fine. But if you want to be a journalist, then I think that then you need to be a journalist, and you need to be objective to it. So, but also I think as a journalist, do you think Mo was right to say that this, it wasn't about him, that this is about Salazar? And, Mo has done nothing wrong. If you listen to every radio report or news report this week, they mentioned Mo Farah's former coach, but then they said, Mo's done nothing wrong. So in other words, why do you then mention him? Because do you want people to be suspicious of him? And that is a question that I get asked quite a lot. But again, as from a journalist point of view, with my journalist hat on, I go, well, no, but it makes the story that Mo is the person there. And Mo should have come out and said in stronger terms that I've been let down by Salazar. And he didn't really say that. And as you rightly said, he started talking about a witch hunt and got kind of angry on his high horse a little bit, like Sifa Hassan, of course, did in Doha. Don't yell and say you're angry. Come out and say, it's wrong what's happened, and I can't believe I've been let down so badly.
So what we're saying is, Mo Farah, if you're listening and you want some PR advice and some media advice, you can find Anything But Footy online now at anythingbutfooty.com. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can always drop us an email, anythingbutfooty@gmail.com.
Very quickly,
go on.
Your favourite, Tony Minicello, is in the frame. According to The Guardian, Stephen Maguire, head of Scottish Athletics, Triathlon Performance Director Mike Cavendish, and Tony Minicello are the names for the British Athletics Director of Performance.
Well, Tony Minicello's never been backward in coming forward with his opinions. If you follow his social media accounts, he is very opinionated, has lots of ideas, and a track record, of course, of working with not just Jessica Ennis-Hill, but other athletes as well, and improving them. So, I don't think that would be a bad shout. That said, I don't think he's universally popular with everyone. Should we put it like that? Has put the odd nose out of joint over time. But maybe to be a performance director at British Athletics, to hit that medal target of 7 to 9, maybe you need someone like that in the role. Who knows? All things Olympic and Paralympic sport then on Anything But Footy. We'll continue with some cycling news on the way for you in a moment.
A fantastic 3 days of competition for the British Judo female team, with 4 medals won and valuable Olympic qualification points gained as well at the Brasilia Grand Slam in Brazil. Nicoda Smith-Davis won a brilliant gold in the under 57 kilogram category after beating home favourite Catalan Nascimento of Brazil in the final on the golden score. It's only the second time the 28-year-old World Championship silver medalist, has topped the podium, so well done to Smith Davis. And there was silver for Natalie Powell in the under 78 kilogram, beaten by Cuba's former world bronze medalist Kalima Macho in the final. Amy Livesey and Gemma Howell both lost out in semis to win bronze as well. But pretty good news for British judo.
British Cycling have confirmed their team for the Urban Cycling World Championships taking place in China. BMX racing, basically, to you and me. 5 elite men and 2 elite women. Ben Wallace and James Jones kind of top the bill, if you like, looking to improve on their 2018 5th and 6th placings. Alex Colburn, who won a silver medal in 2017, also part of that squad. 6th to the 10th of November, dates for your diary. Staying with cycling, European Championships on the horizon. Laura Kenny is going for 3 medals, and she's treating this as a rehearsal for Tokyo. So she's going for the team pursuit, the Omnium, and then she gets a day off before the Madison. That will be her schedule at the European Championships. In Tokyo, she'll get a day off between each event. It's the only chance, really, to see if her body can hold up, and she can do it. Remember, she is a 4-time Olympic champion. And who will be the odd man, odd men out as far as the men are concerned? Jack Carlin's been speaking this week. He's one of 5 riders looking for an Olympic place, up against Jason Kenny, Philip Hines, Ryan Owens and Joe Truman. The final track season before the next Olympics starts soon. It will include a World Cup event in Glasgow.
It's getting squeaky bum time, and more names have been added to Team GB to compete at next year's Tokyo Olympics. And as we predicted in Anything But Footy episode 26, delight for Dasher. A reigning Olympic champion Joe Clark misses out on a place in the canoe slalom in the K1, as does 3-time Olympian David Florence in the C1 category. So some big shocks here. Bradley Forbes, Cryans and Adam Burgess have been selected in the K1 and C1. Bradley was 4th in the recent World Championships in Spain. Burgess was Great Britain's first ever C1 under-23 World Champion in 2015. And Mallory Franklin got her first taste of Olympics watching as a spectator in 2012. Now she's selected for Team GB in the women's C1 class. The World Champion of 2017 won 8 medals at the events in 2018 alone to become Britain's most successful female paddler. Kimberly Woods, who was 6th at the World Championships, is picked in the K1 class. And in the canoe sprint, reigning Olympic champion Liam Heath will go to his 3rd games, looking to add to his bronze and silver and gold he won in London and Rio. The 35-year-old from Guildford is the Olympic, world and European champion and has been unbeaten in the K1 200 metres since 2017. It now means 17 confirmed Team GB members after the 12 sailors were named last week. And there is a further chance for Olympic places in the canoe sprint at a 2nd round qualification next May.
So no Joe Clark, the Rio 26 gold medalist, as John says. No David Florence, who's won 3 Olympic medals. But performance director Paula Radcliffe, who said he was gutted for the ones who haven't made it, knows all about it, because he won a silver medal in Sydney in 2000, but was not selected in 2004. What I would say about British canoeing is their system works. This first past the boat system works. They've been a fantastic Team GB success story at the Olympics. This is Anything But Footy, your Olympic and Paralympic sport podcast. And as you know, Mental Health Awareness Day has taken place this week, and it saw the launch of a new charity called Sporting Minds UK. It's been set up by a teenager who's told Anything But Footy all about it.
My name's Callum Lee. I'm 19 years old and I'm the founder of Sporting Minds UK. So Sporting Minds UK is a newly formed non-profit organisation that seeks to raise awareness and provide support for positive mental health in young sports people. We'll be focusing on 3 main areas. So firstly, to try and raise as much awareness for the importance of mental health in youth sport as possible, in the hope to try and normalise the issue. And this will be done through our social media platforms, our website and various events that we'll be holding. Secondly, to fund mental health education within sporting institutions through the help of our team of specialists that have very kindly come on board with us. And lastly, to facilitate and fund direct one-to-one support for young sports people with mental health issues. And this will be done in association with Bupa Healthcare, which we're really excited about. The reason why Sporting Minds UK is aimed at young sports people in particular is because I believe the journey from participation level to professional sport as a youngster is extremely weight-bearing, both physically and mentally. There can be intense pressures from fear of failure, injuries, competition, and all of these factors can in turn really damage not only a potential career but also a lifelong dream for a lot of young people. And this, as we've seen, is where mental health issues can arise.
And if you'd like to get in touch with Sporting Minds UK, you can email them hello@sportingmindsuk.org, or you can find them on Twitter or Instagram. That was Callum Lee, the founder of Sporting Minds UK.
The British men's hockey team could only draw their final series before their crucial Olympic qualifiers in November. After winning the first match against Spain in Valencia 1-0, thanks to Liam Ansell's goal, the Spanish got their revenge with a 4-1 thrashing to level the series 1-1. Next up for Danny Kerry's side, it is that Olympic qualifier. They take on Malaysia in 2 matches at the Lee Valley Hockey and Tennis Centre, the 2nd and 3rd of November, as they bid to book their spot at Tokyo 2020, and tickets are on sale now.
Birmingham, of course, will be hosting the Commonwealth Games in 2022, and proposals for the redevelopment of Alexander Stadium. The Alexander Stadium have been submitted this week to planners at Birmingham City Council. It's a £70 million scheme to upgrade the stadium in Perry Bar in Birmingham, and they want it to become a high-quality venue for sporting, leisure, cultural and community events. It will, of course, host the ceremonies and the athletics at Birmingham 2022. It's interesting because basically this is Birmingham City Council applying to Birmingham City Council for planning permission to build the stadium. So I presume they're going to get it.
And disappointment to end with for Great Britain. We've had all the success, I'm sorry about this, as they lost out on bronze medal in the European Championships of goalball in Russia. It's a team sport designed specifically for athletes with vision impairment, and the teams of 3 try and throw the ball that has bells embedded into it into the goal. Unfortunately, after reaching the semis following a win over the home team and world champions Russia, Great Britain's women lost to Israel and then 8-2 to Germany in the 3rd place playoff.
Don't forget, check out our new website, anythingbutfooty.com. You can get in touch with us through the website, on Twitter, at anythingbutf, on Facebook, on Instagram, and also on YouTube. And we love getting your emails as well. So something we should discuss around Olympic and Paralympic sport, let us know, anythingbutfooty@gmail.com. And I'm looking out of my window right now, and I'm finding it hard to believe that currently there's a World Beach Games taking place currently, because the beach looks a long way away from the rainy view out of my studio window. But if the past week has demonstrated anything, Eliud Kipchoge has shined a little light through the storm clouds over the sport of athletics, and the likes of Lauren Price, Max Whitlock and Joe Fraser are definitely bright hopes for Tokyo 2022. Little rays of sunshine, if you like.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.